Hi, my name is Dominique, and in today's project, we're going to be talking about pattern. Pattern is a principle of art, and principles of art are made up of different elements of art and how those elements can be used. So pattern in particular is the repetition of 4 different elements of art. So pattern can be the possible repetition of either line, shape, color, or texture. And when those elements are repeated in different ways, interchanging with one another, it forms a pattern. And you could also use the repetition of all 4 of those to create a decorative pattern, which is called a motif. For this project about pattern, we are going to be focusing on the particular kind of pattern called Zentangle. Zentangles don't usually involve color and texture, so we're going to be focusing on line and shape and repeating those elements of art in our Zentangles. So in this practice that I'm about to show you, we're going to be focusing on building up those skills and building up those repetition skills so we can create a successful pattern. Let's go.
For lessons, I always like to start off with a scaffolding activity where you get to build your skills before starting the final product. And in this particular activity, I am drawing 12 identical squares of the same size, where in each square I'm going to be practicing creating a different pattern design. This really gets to help you figure out what your style is when it comes to creating patterns. Each person has an individual and unique approach to creating patterns, and this helps you recognize that and build those strengths. In this activity, I'm outlining each box with a Sharpie just so it can have a neater and more clean look to it, but it's not necessary. Each row of 3 is going to have a different shape that the pattern is going to be centered around. I like to have a shape to focus on because when doing something freeform and just having to create it yourself, you focus on making something unique and not the skill that you're trying to build, which is repetition of shape. So for this first row, I'm doing circular patterns, and in the first box it's just a simple dot creation or just simple circle shapes. And in the second one is an overlapping of the circles and just kind of have them look like bubbles in a way. And in this third one that I'm making, it's kind of like a bullseye circular pattern where they overlap, but they also kind of build up on each other. You can go in to the pattern you created and actually go over it with Sharpie if you want. The main goal of this practice is to do just that. Practice repeating shapes to create a pattern. And so going over it with Sharpie isn't necessarily like the most important. And it's a little more time consuming. So just leaving it with the pencil drawing of the pattern will be just fine. In this second row, I'm starting off with triangular pattern design. This one is a little more linear where it's just lines that are connecting to each other to create a triangle, and I'm keeping it very simple. In this first one, I'm just having them all connect and have different variations of sizes of the triangle and just have it kind of create like a triangle abstract grid. In this second box, I'm doing where it's overlapping, kind of like in the third circular design that I did, they're overlapping triangles. Just something simple where I get to practice what I need to practice. For the third box, I was actually running out of ideas of what to do. As you can see, I'm starting something and then I'm erasing it because I just could not think of a third design. So I'm making these free floating different sizes of triangles, kind of like a 90s vibe of, commercials or shows in the background. And that's my third design for the triangle row. For this third row, I'm doing square designs, and I'm starting off with just a simple grid. And then in this second design, I'm doing something that's basically the same thing as the triangle design that's right above it, where it's just the overlapping of squares in this grid shape as well. And again, for the third box, I'm doing the 90s background, where the squares are just kind of suspended in air like that. Now that I have practiced doing patterns with the different shapes above, I'm starting off with more free-form patterns where I'm just creating the design just off the top of my head, no matter what the shape is, such as this one I'm doing now, where it's kind of like a scale design, which is just a repetition of half circles or crescent shapes that are built up on each other. And just try to have fun with these designs, make them completely your own. I'm doing this repetition of swirls here, and this is actually a doodle that I've been doing in my notebook since middle school. So just remember to have fun with these last three. Next step in the process is taking a piece of paper out of your art journal to use as the cover, just to ensure that the paper is the same size as the cover. And the next step in this process is taking the picture that you took. This could be a selfie, this could be a picture that someone else took of you, just as long as it's a picture of you and it shows a little bit of your personality. I chose this funny picture where I'm sticking out my tongue because I'm a goofy person, so why not have a goofy picture? Just something that shows your personality, because this is your art journal. So I'm just cut off the edges of it and made sure I did just the outline of like my body, my silhouette, so it doesn't take up so much room on the actual cover of it. And now I'm just trying different positions and trying to figure out what I like. I'm tracing around the picture so I can see where the placement is once I take it off of the background. This is so when I do the marker part towards the end, that I don't get any marker on the actual picture. And now I'm just doing my design, which I'm doing a thought bubble design, where the thought bubble is where I'm going to be putting in my Zentangle designs. I'm adding my name because why not? Just to add a little personal touch to it. And my name is my identity, so why not? Zentangles are made up of a variety of patterns that all come together to form one picture. So I'm creating 10 different sections where I'm going to have my Zentangle designs. You do not have to section them off like this. This is just what I like to do to keep it a little bit more organized. As you can see in this first design that I'm doing, this is one of the designs I did in the practice activity. You do not have to do the patterns created in the practice activity. This could be something completely off the top of your head, just as long as it is a pattern, which we have gone over is a repetition of shapes. So right now I'm doing a grid, which is also something that I did in the practice activity, but now I am doing a leaf pattern, and it's just a whole bunch of leaves kind of like floating in a way. And that's something that I just created on the spot. So it does not have to be the same as the practice, just as long as it is a pattern. These patterns are done with Sharpie markers that are of different thicknesses. So sometimes I use a thicker Sharpie, and sometimes I use a finer one, and then sometimes I use an ultra fine Sharpie. This is to get a different quality of line when I create the shapes for the pattern, and it gives it a little bit more depth. I am almost finished with my Zentangle. I'm just going over it with a few details with the Sharpie, and here is my finished product. A completed Zentangle with 10 designs in it. Now I am going over the background with marker just to add some color. You can use as many colors as you want. I'm choosing one just to keep it simple. I'm adding marker to all of the white areas just to keep it cohesive. So just make sure that you add marker to all the spots where you see that marker needs to be filled in. I am now adding my picture on with glue stick glue, and as you can see, there's no marker on the picture. And I'm going to add art journal with some little hearts, and I'm finished. For this part, I am now putting some packaging tape on the front just to secure it, and so it's not easily damaged, and this will give it a little bit of shine and make it feel smoother. So here's my finished art journal cover. Everything is finished, and I hope you guys enjoyed this project. Thank you.